Lovely good morning. The time in Central Africa is 08:28, and welcome to Saturday's edition of Community Forum right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Angel Kasabo. Always great to know that you are tuned in. And this conversation is live on Facebook. You go to your Facebook and search for RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post current affairs. So not Radio Christian Voice, but RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post everything current affairs. So come through and let's get interactive. Also, you can let us know where you are watching this live feed from, and your contributions and questions, you can post them just below the comments section. The number is 0956 200 490, 0956 200 490. That's the number that you can get in touch with the studio for your contributions and questions. This morning, we do have an interesting topic. We are looking at the topic, the need for social impact. This is our topic of discussion this morning, the need for social impact. This is our topic of discussion. And I'm privileged to be joined in studio by political scientist and social impact strategist, Mr. Mwiza Bwali. He is our guest this morning. Now, let's get into who Mwiza Bwali is real quick before we introduce him to you. Mwiza Bwali is a dedicated professional with a strong background in politics and international relations, seeking opportunities in the fields of social impact, public policy, public affairs, leadership, youth programs, administration and management, communication, crisis management, international relations, and advocacy. Demonstrated commitment and ability to promoting good governance, team management, strategic communication, climate change, human rights, and youth engagement. Mwiza is a political scientist and international relations expert, but at the heart of everything, he does a deep passion. At the heart of everything, he does a deep passion for people and social impact. He believes leadership, governance, and strategy only make sense when they improve lives. He is a visionary founder of the House of Democracy, a firm dedicated to providing strategic communication solutions and also partnering with individuals, political parties, and business institutions to offer people-centered solutions in a range of services, including public speaking training, governance, human rights and leadership training, communication, crisis management, political advisory, imaging and messaging. He has published 2 significant books on politics, showcasing his analytical prowess. His writing has been featured in esteemed publications such as the Afro-Democracy Journal and the African Exponent. He is a skilled political writer. Besides the degree, he has been trained in crisis communication and management, public affairs management, social impact and civic engagement, and public policy advocacy. Now, he also volunteers at the General Secretary for an organization. He co-founded Z Pro Sports Foundation, which is a youth-centered non-profit organization committed to transforming the lives of underprivileged girls in Zambia through the power of sport, education, and skills development, established in 2013. The foundation uses football as a tool to identify talent, build confidence, and create pathways for education and economic opportunity. Mr. Bwali, good morning and welcome to Community Forum. What a loaded bio you have. Celebrated.
I didn't think you would mention all of it, but
Jesus
thank you
Christ,
so much,
I'm
Angel.
I'm not even half of this.
No, you are
in my
more,
own space.
actually. Way more than all of that.
Welcome to Community Forum, and it's great to have you on this platform.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know. Besides, we've talked about your rich sort of bio, but also maybe in few sentences away from this, who is Mwiza Bwali?
Well, from everything you mentioned, I pick 2 things in particular that represent me. If you woke me up in the middle of the night and asked me who I am, I'll tell you I'm a social impact strategist and a political scientist. And the reason they go hand in hand is because my training as a political scientist is the knowledge about what systems work for human development. And that knowledge is what I use to translate my work into social impact. So basically, social impact strategist is all that I am about.
Most definitely. I'm looking at you, and for some of our listeners that are not able to see you, but in case you want to see Mr. Bwali, you can go through to Facebook. Very young man. What drove you to, go to this particular path? Because every time there's the young people and politics involved, they say, there's no chance for you, Mr. Bwali. Politics or political science is for the big guys. You may not have resources to be there. But what drove you to take this particular route?
I think we, as human beings, environment influences us. And we have to also recognize the fact that when God gives you grace to do something, it's not entirely up to you to say, no, you can't. Because you look at several examples of the Davids, you look at several examples of Joseph in the Bible, and several people were able to do things, extraordinary things in platforms that were inherently thought not to be predominantly for certain people. But and also maybe just to make a distinction, political science and being a politician, very different things. As a political scientist, I look at institutions, I look at policies, I look at how does the government efficiently deliver services to the people. So I think there is a little bit of disparity, if not a very big disparity, between being a political scientist and being a politician. So I'm the furthest thing from a politician. I'm a political scientist. So I analyze systems. I also look at what are the efficient ways through which we can use the systems of government as well as policies, both private and government policies, because at the end of the day, they always interact at a certain point. So how do we use those now to make meaningful change in the lives of ordinary people?
Yeah, most definitely. Looking at these institutions, but then also there's been a concern, especially from the old folks, that even up to now, we've got very few young political scientists. We've got very few people that are questioning how systems are supposed to work, how systems are not supposed to work. And sometimes there's a little bit of blame on the young people. People, well, like you, you are doing great stuff in your own journey, but then there's a conversation of we're not having in as much as the young people that we should have. That's why maybe systems are breaking. What would be your reaction to such criticism, especially that falls upon the young people? That we feel that the young people, yes, they are doing it, but not as much as we may have wanted them to do, so that they analyze how these systems are working, they analyze how institutions of government are working. They even dare say, look at the young people that we have nowadays. This TikTok and Facebook, that's the only commentary that they know. But when it comes to analyzing how institutions are supposed to work so that lives are improved, we have very few young people doing that. How would you respond to such sentiments?
Well, I think it is a reality. It isn't something that is coming out of the blues. You'd realize that in every sector of life, everything doesn't go according to perspective. There is what we think, what we perceive, then there is also reality. I don't think every young person in this country has to analyze policies or has to be in a situation where they're discussing political science or economic development or so on and forth, because people are gifted differently. Can you imagine what kind of a world we would live in if everybody was an economist, if everybody was a social scientist? It would be chaotic. So even the TikTokers, very important young people, because in their own right, they're influencing the world. Some of them are using TikTok to educate. Not all of them are using the internet for wrong reasons. So even with the older folks, you do realize that some of them are not so good at doing stuff on TikTok. But that balance strikes community as we know it. So I think the criticism also comes from the fact that we expect too much from the young people, which is quite unfair. We expect that in a group of 10 young people, 9 of them should be intellectuals standing and talking about policy analysis and so on and so forth. But we failed to realize that art, such as creating content on Facebook, is an opportunity for growth in itself. You look at industries in United States, you look at, and now even unconventional societies like China joining in through platforms like TikTok, you see that young people in those places into art are making a huge difference in the world.
Yeah.
The likes of Mark Zuckerberg, nothing related to police, but just using the internet to create a platform that connects millions and billions of people across the globe.
Yeah.
So I think it is the expectation, and we need to come to reality and realize that not all young people can be in one sector. The diversity is what makes the whole.
I like how you've put it, because the other day, this year on Youth Day, I had a conversation and we did a report, and we're asking citizens that is Zambia's future safe with today's youths? Is Zambia's future safe in the hands of today's youths? And I'll tell you what, 80% said no, because in as much as you've explained that they're built differently, talented differently, there's still, you've talked about expectations, but scale still lies that our future as a country may not be safe with today's young people.
Is
Do
it safe?
you think that's the truth?
Well, I would like to also, and not specifically asking this to you, but as an introspection to everyone, including our listeners, yes.
Yeah.
Would we say our future is any better as it is today? If we ask that question, then we do realize that, like I said, it is expectation, it is the blame game. So what we need more than anything else is a mindset shift. We need to realize that the young people, whether we like it or not, are going to somehow one day be the leaders that are going to, occupy the current institutions that are being run by our fathers today. So if we are going to look at young people as undeserving, if we are going to look at them as not safe to take over the future, then we might as well just
Do you
lock
think
up the
sometimes
earth.
the criticism that young people receive is unfair?
It is unfair. It is very unfair. And I think it is unrealistic, to say the least, because how many rooms have you walked in and found young people involved on the table of discussion? I'll give you an example. You look at even our National Assembly as it is at the moment, very few young people, and even how many of them...
On one youth.
Exactly. How many of them are accorded the due diligence to participate meaningfully. Before I got into social impact, which is obviously the reason I'm here, I participated in a program where we were advocating for the adoption of a mixed member electoral system with an organization called Center for Young Leaders in Africa. And I'll tell you, I personally sat before the Parliamentary Select Committee on the Constitution Amendment Bill 10. So we submitted reforms and we submitted a clear position paper on how we could increase the number of youth in Parliament so that we can influence the policy-making decision to also favor the young people that we are preparing for the future. But that did not go through. You can imagine that it was strategically put into a constitutional reform which was very contested. The public did not want it. And so all of those things keep falling off like that. So it isn't that the young people are not capable. It is that we are not doing enough to also put them on the table and see what contributions, what value they are able to bring.
So you feel as young people, you're also not given space in these, because also I've had conversations, someone may come across you, okay, Mwiza is doing a good job, but we feel he's not yet ready. He still has to get that experience. Or that is part of, saying the youth should wait. Perhaps maybe when they come to a certain age, then we can have that discussion. Do you feel also there's that inclusion, especially from the old folks, to also embrace people like you? Say, okay, fine, let's have a conversation on this table. Let's share ideas.
It's excuses, Angel. It's excuses. We do not have any scientific data that proves that young people are incapable. You look across the globe, the inspiration is coming from young people. You look in the Bible, the inspiration came from the young people. You look at the value that was able to be gotten from young people, but all it takes is being given a platform. And like you are saying, I would like to, give reference to the Bible. You look at how Joseph was undermined by his brothers simply because of being young. But what did he end up to become? The governor that they bowed before. So not that young people should be given platforms without anything to add to it. But all I'm saying is let us give them a chance. Let us give young people room to discuss. You look at even the current administration, some of the people that are making tangible differences, some of the people that are drawing inspiration that people are drawing inspiration from are young people. You look at the Chinese delegation visiting Zambia, and you have the likes of Benedito speaking fluent Chinese, not because of anything else, but because of the ability to be young and learn and expose yourself to different circumstances. And that is what we need. We need to be able to create deliberate platforms to build the talent of young people and see the best in them. Because if you look for the West, of course you find them. Everybody has a side that you can criticize.
Maybe lastly also, before we get into our topic of discussion, when we talk about the young people, they will agree with you, but then they will say, yes, but we also have a bad few eggs among the young people. I'll give you an example. We've seen waves of political violence happening in the country. One, the Chingola incident where stones were thrown at the president. We saw the PF Secretariat right here in Osaka being attacked. And we also saw Honorable former Member of Parliament for Kawata being attacked, given Luvinda. And when you look at all these incidents, the common denominator, in as much as they may not be the sponsors, but the common denominator of all these are the young people. And so then how do we strike a balance? How do we then conclude that the young people are capable of, taking charge of the affairs of the country when it comes to political violence? They're easily used. It's not even, a difficult conversation that, you do this. It just happens almost seamlessly. So then how do we strike a balance between that reality also and also just entrusting the young people that they are indeed the leaders of the future?
Then that's a very, very, very important reflection. I think there is no justification to things like that. There is no justification to issues to do with violence. And I think part of what we are going to be discussing in our overall conversation will also include some of the things that we can do to uplift the behaviors of young people from participating in vices such as what you've just alluded to. I think the balance can be stricken. I don't think it is something that we cannot work around. We need to transform society. We need to go back to our roots. Because if you ask yourself, Angel, where are these young people coming from? They're coming from homes of the same parents that are saying young people are bad people. So if we are going to sit with, if we are going to allow a society that trains young people, not just in their home families, but everywhere else, if Radio Christian Voice is going to be a platform for education, a platform for inculcating values that we want to see as a nation, if every street, every parent takes a responsibility to ensure that each parent trains one child, each parent does not have disdain, towards a delinquent, then we can be sure that we are living in a society where we can strike the balance. And it is a lot of work, to be honest with you. I don't think, if you find someone without a job and tell them to pick a stone in exchange for 100 kwacha note, it is something they're easily going to say no. But as a result, just like I mentioned earlier, you find that there's a whole lot of aspects, leading to these young people participating in this. It is unemployment, it is broken families. It is very rare that you trace the background of a young person throwing stones on the street for no good cause. For no good cause, and find that there is stability in the background. So there's a lot of factors affecting this, and we need, as a nation, especially a Christian nation for that matter, we need to come down to the bottom line. The family issues, the education systems. Are we just teaching 1+1, or we are teaching people how to behave as well? Because like we'll be discussing in our conversation, all of these character building are very important to creating a responsible citizen.
I know I said last question, but the last one on this one. What do you feel is also the role of parents in this sequence? Because even when we talk about social impact, parents are somehow involved. They say charity begins at home, right? And it's also through words of affirmation that you tell your child, you're going to be better, work hard in school, don't do this and do that. And when this person is thrown into society, we see that impact, or we see whatever the person is doing for a good cause. But also we've seen some parents, you're just passing through a road, this house, the parent is shouting at this child that you are this and that.
Yeah.
Suganizayo. Those words are words that are slowly being infiltrated into this young child or this young youth. So in as far as parents are concerned, especially in the life of these youths, because also at the end of the day, a politician is going to say, look, I feel that the future of Zambia is not safe with today's young people. When this politician has got children, so what is he saying about his children? So what do you feel is the role of parents in ensuring that, you know, children are molded in a positive way, that they give this good impact to society?
I think the role of the parents comes down to values. You know, we can look at several theories, but I wouldn't like to go into that. But you do realize that values basically are important for the growth of a human being at any given level in life. You as Angel, you need to have ethics. You know, you need to before you actualize yourself into the great gentleman that you are, you need to have a certain group of ethics that live so strongly in your life. And you need to know, no matter what, I can never be able to do something like this. And certain behaviors about how we create those ethics are learned behaviors. We learn them from our environment. We learn them from our parents. But what I feel is the greatest role any parent can play in a child's life is to submit that child to God. And I'll tell you why. And obviously considering the fact that not all parents are religious, and other religious affiliations have different ways of upbringing. But one thing in common with all religions, I don't think there's a religion here in Africa that we practice that teaches people to be violent, that teaches people to be vengeful. You know, we all learn that we should be able to be models in society. And so parents should submit their children to God. If it is not my God or our God as Christians, then whoever they submit to, but they need to be able to create a child that they themselves wouldn't be scared to meet in the street. I think that is how we need to look at it.
I totally agree with you. All right, awesome. Let's now get into the topic of discussion, the need for social impact. And you can come through in case you're just tuning in. You are listening to Saturday's edition of Community Forum right here on Radio Christian Voice. And this morning I'm privileged to be joined by a very powerful young gentleman by the name of Mwiza Bwali, a political scientist, and also, kindly remind me, last part, political scientist.
Or social impact strategist.
Social impact strategist. Yes, he's my guest this morning. And we are looking at the topic of discussion, the need for social impact. All right, let's now get into it. Before we get to the need for social impact, let's start from the top. What is social impact?
Okay, a term that sits very close to my heart. Social impact, Angel, is just what it sounds like. It is impact. But also, we need to look at it from positive or negative impact. So it is any impact that you leave on another person because of your decisions, because of your actions, or because of anything else that you decide to do. And this can be done at an individual level. It can also be done at an institutional level, at a corporation level. It can be done at many different levels. And social impact comes about because we need to understand that the need for social impact comes from social responsibility. If you have lived between 2000 and 2025, you'll be able to notice that we've had dramatic shifts in how life is generally. Hot seasons are warmer, cold seasons have also become warmer. I think I read somewhere that in 2019, 2019, yes, Southern Province experienced the hottest weather it has ever experienced in the last 45 years.
That was 2019,
so,
right?
Yes. So crazy statistics in terms of what climate change has been able to do. But if you look at climate change as a subject, you also realize that it has come along with other things: poverty, has come around the corner as a complement to climate change. And as a result, inequalities have also increased. So terms like social impact, corporate social responsibility, sustainable business practices are no longer just good ideas. They're not just fancy words that are used in corporate meetings. They are a reality now, and they are methods which forward-looking companies and individuals are using in order for them to create success and measures of progress. And what this simply means when you relate it to social impact is that as an individual, as an organization, and as a corporation, in everything that you do, you need to consider what we call the triple bottom. So the triple bottom has 3 P's. So we have a profit, which is your main focus if you are a company. You want to make as much money as you can. But when you make that money, we want you to be able to consider the people that are involved in your cycle of making money. Then you also consider the planet. That basically enables you to make the money that you are making.
So you consider the people and the planet.
Exactly. So profit is your priority. But when you make your profit, how about the people? And these people are not just the people that are working for you. It is also the people that live in your environment. Say if you are brewing beer, right? Or if you're making biscuits, there's going to be smoke coming out of your chimneys. There are people inhaling that smoke in the surrounding areas. So how do you take care of those people? And the planet itself, if you're drilling copper, if you're drilling gold from underneath the earth, how do you give back to the earth and take care of it for sustainability so that another person with ambitions like you can be able to come back to the same earth and get out the minerals that you're benefiting from. So in simple terms, that is social impact. It is the impact that we make in people's lives, positive or negative, because of the things that we do at an individual organizational
So there's also
level.
something called a negative social impact.
Yes, there is such a thing as negative social impact, because you could be doing something that is right in your own setting, but it influences another person negatively. I'll give you an example. You could be a mining company, for example, and so in mining, doing what you're doing is okay, but the pollution that you're causing to the nearby streams of water is causing negative social impact. As long as it is impacting someone, it can either be positive or it can be negative.
Interesting. And I like how you've given examples of the mining sector, because these are, I would say, these are culprits when it comes to this impact and everything. Let's get to the next question. Okay. Just to touch base before we get to the next question with Facebook, quite a number of people are watching. You can go there and comment and let us know where you are watching from. Muchinga Mugala, thank you so much. Great to know that you are watching. Sly Dunbar, locked in, thank you so much. Great to know that you are watching. Bright Morris, thank you so much. Edgar Mlenga, thank you so much. Great to know that you are watching. You can also post your questions and contributions just underneath, just in the comments section. Come through for your contributions. Later on, we'll open the phone lines in the second hour of the program to give you an opportunity to call in and also submit your contribution and question. All right, let's get to our next question with regards to today's topic. We're looking at the need for social impact. Okay. There you go. So then, I like how you've talked about negative and positive social impact. So then, why is social impact important for communities, organizations, and individuals today? Why is it important?
First thing, Angel, I think the number one purpose of leadership in any setting, the number one purpose of leadership is to empower people. And this means you can look at a leader. If Angel is a leader in any setting in society, it could be in business, it could be in politics, it could be in anything. Or you might as well just be an influential individual in your area. We can look and judge your prosperity as a leader by looking at the prosperity of your followers.
Yeah.
So then we can say the need for social impact is also attributed to what we call the stakeholders and social contract theory. So the social contract theory and stakeholders theory, simply put, says corporations cannot make the most out of society if they solely focus on making profit for themselves. So the best way for business to be conducted is to strike a balance between the two, your profit as well as the overall society that you come from, because maximizing profit for your shareholders fails to maximize the optimal benefit for society. And so in today's world, social impact is important because it helps companies, corporations, and individuals to do more than what they're just obligated to do by the law. Yeah, so you also realize that over 1.2 billion young people today, according to the United Nations, are looking for a place in the world. And that sounds funny and fancy because one might say they already exist and they are there on the earth, but there is something we call actualization. And that actualization doesn't come about easily. They're looking for sustainability, they're looking for identity, and so on and forth. So you do also realize that the need for social impact bridges the gap between what is available in the economy as employment and also the skills that are needed to fill in those particular gaps. So social impact identifies those gaps and helps people to bridge those particular gaps. But as a result, if we took social impact out of the picture, if we took away the ability of other people to do good for the benefit of overall society, then we are going to create poverty circles. We are going to have poor education outcomes. We are also going to have higher crime, like you mentioned, the youth that throw stones and so on and forth. Some of them just need to be impacted socially. If they're impacted socially with a skill, they're impacted socially with some sort of knowledge, then the trajectory of their life changes for the better.
Awesome. All right. The time is 8:59. We'll have to break off for the top of the hour and get into a few commercials. Then just after that, we'll continue with our conversation. So do not touch that dial. We just break off for the top of the hour. Just after that, join us even as we continue our topic of discussion this morning on Community Forum.
Ever feel like your ideas are bigger than the space you're in? At Open Window University Zambia, we don't just teach creativity, we unleash it. Whether you dream in code, color, canvas, or campaigns, our internationally recognized degrees in creative arts, marketing, and IT are designed to prepare you for the world of work, from creative industries to tech and beyond. With industry standard studios, global collaborations, and expert lecturers who live and breathe creativity, you won't just learn, you'll create your future. Applications for 2026 are now open. Don't miss your window of opportunity. Master new skills and fast-track your career with accredited qualifications. Search Open Window University Zambia today to secure your spot.
Men of strength, men of vision, this is your time. Lifeline Family Church PHI warmly invites all men to Stretch 2025, the Men of Precision Conference. Theme scripture, Judges 20, 16-17. Join your host, Pastor Swani Sikote, and guest speaker, Pastor James Mpungwa from Kenya.
So grateful to God for the invitation to come and minister in this year's Stretch Conference on the 21st up to 23rd of November.
For a powerful 3-day encounter designed to sharpen your purpose and ignite your destiny. Venue, Lifeline Community Family Church PHI. Date from the 21st to the 23rd of November 2025. Time, Friday, Leadership Summit from 9 hours to 13 hours. And Gathering of Saints from 17:30 hours to 20 hours. Saturday, Men's Conference from 9 hours to 17 hours, including the Women's Stretch Encounter from 14 hours to 17 9 hours. Sunday, the service is from 08 hours to 11 hours. For more details, call 0974 06 8692, 0974 06 8692 or 0950 004048, 0950 004048. Don't miss this divine appointment. Come and be empowered and be transformed for impact.
Being bold is actually beyond pressing shift keys. It's beyond shaving machines. It's beyond reversing a cancerous disease. Being bold is coming to the understanding that the harvest is more than plenty, but those willing to put in the work are few. Turn quickly to the book of Matthew, past 28 chapters, and come to verses 19 and realize the mandate is to look at the world and all its nations and say to ourselves, therefore, I'll go too. I'll go and love my neighbor enough to want to see them in heaven. I'll go and be compassionate enough to share the gospel with no fear, and I'll remember that persecution must be for his name's sake, cause I'm grafted in. To God, we kids are namesakes. The practicality requires me to step into faith. Convos to point to the true source in the Bible to pronounce the gospel. I share my testimony to shame the past and the accusers thereof. I share the message of his goodness, and it is to church I invite ya. I step into prayer and offering daily support to the brethren, being a good example of righteous standing to all my sisters, and then realize that it's time we disciples went out to disciple others, to disciple the world into getting to know the God of the Bible. So go ye into the world and share his word boldly. The call is to engage culture for his glory.
Our mission is to empower and equip believers for the Great Commission by delivering godly and relevant content that speaks to each member of the family. Radio Christian Voice, your home since '94.
These views are independent and do not represent those of Radio Christian Voice.
Welcome to Community Forum, a program designed with you in mind, addressing things that concerns you. Stay tuned for today's topic.
The time in Central Africa is 9:03. Lovely good morning to you and welcome back to Saturday's edition of Community Forum right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Angel Kasavo, and thank you so much that you are tuned in. A lovely good morning to our Facebook viewers. You can come through for your contribution and question on Facebook in the comment section. On today's topic, the number is 0956-200-490. Very soon we'll be opening the phone lines to give an opportunity to call in, and also you can keep your text messages coming through on that particular number for your contributions and questions and quite a number of text messages that have already come through. We'll get to them in a bit. This morning we are looking at the topic, the need for social impact. This is our topic of discussion, and I'm privileged to be joined by political scientist and social impact strategist, Mr. Mwiza Bwali. He's my guest this morning. And before we went on that particular break, did you conclude on why is social impact important for communities, organizations, and individuals today? We did conclude on that one. All right. So very quickly, let's delve into the country and where we are. There's been a lot of questions of what is coming out of the country. Is it impacting on people? Is it impacting on other nations? But from where you sit, do you think Zambia is doing enough in terms of structured social impact? Do you think as a country we're doing enough on that one?
I like the fact that you've used the word structured, because we are trying as a country, but we're not doing the best that we can. And I say this because most of individuals as well as institutions, corporations in Zambia are doing more of donations, charity, and corporate social responsibility as a matter of fact.
So for you, that doesn't fall under social impact?
So it is a sector in its own line, except there is a difference. If you look at social impact as a whole, it should be able to bring tangible results. It should be able to speak statistics of improvement, what is on the ground and how is it changing when you do that particular initiative that you seek to impact. Now, say for example, if you give someone food to eat today, you're not creating social impact because tomorrow they'll be hungry again. You need to look at it in the long run. I'll give you an example. The International Labour Organization estimates that youth unemployment in Africa stands over 20%. And so what social impact would do to that statistic is empower young people with skills specifically addressing areas of concern. In Africa, we have a lot of young talent, but also a lot of skill mismatch in opportunities that are there. So social impact then is going to reduce that gap, usher more young people into strategic career pathways, into the technology sector, admitting that artificial intelligence is now here and it is here to stay, here to replace a lot of jobs. And so how do we prepare the young people in Africa, the young people in Zambia for shifts and changes in society such as that? So we are trying as a country, but not the best that we can do.
And based off your example, I heard a conversation, I came across a conversation where they were talking about social protection initiatives in Zambia. And they were saying we feel that these social protection initiatives are not, they sort of create that dependence syndrome and we're not impacting these societies as we should. So do you also feel that perhaps maybe social protection initiatives are not also giving us that social impact that we may want to have as a country?
Social impact?
Or it's totally different?
Social impact, Angel, I would say no. But they're creating solutions for the short term. Because
so social protection is just creating solutions for the short term.
For the short term, yes. But what we need to look at is how do we improve livelihoods sustainably? And sustainably meaning for the future to come, how do we empower individuals to run on both legs? And I understand the dynamics of our culture, the dynamics of our society are always going to be different. For example, my 82-year-old grandmother somewhere in Muchinga province or in Southern province is not going to be able to be given a skill in computer or designing or tailoring. So for some of those brackets, of course, we need to support them with stipends. We need to support them with food and so on and forth. But also, we need to consider empowering the people that are taking care of them so that they too can create sustainable solutions in their households. Because for most families in Zambia, there is someone younger than the adult, than the elderly person that is being taken care of. So if we can identify the people in those families, empower them to a point where that empowerment can be sustainable, it can be long-term, then we are making impact as it should, not just going by NRC numbers and dashing out bags of meal and every now and then. And you can imagine, you might find a situation where this 85-year-old grandmother gets some support from the government, but alongside has about 8 dependents in that family that are depending on the same support that is being received from the government. So it's not sustainable. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Also, social impact strategist, would like to find out from you, what inspired you to personally take this path of social impact strategy? What inspired you?
It is quite a remarkable story, and I love to share it because it is just not about me.
Yes.
I think it is something that a lot of people can relate to, and I would like to see your reaction to this as well. Have you ever been in a moment where you go on Facebook and they bring you a memory of something you posted 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you ask yourself, oh my God, what was I thinking? This is not me. Why did I write something like this? But anyway, funny as that sounds, it shows me something about how we develop as human beings. We have an illusion of continuity. We think where we are and what we are doing is all that we are going to be doing in the future. But when you look at yourself right now from where you are seated, you'll be able to see that the contrast with who you've become in the past is very clear. But when you think of the future, you think the future is just going to be more of the same. And scientists in the social sector call this the illusion of continuity. So myself as a young person, I always wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to fly commercially, and this dream was so big that every time a chopper landed at the ground at the school where I used to be in Isoka district of Mchinga province, I would leave class to go and speak to the pilots. I remember I have a picture with one of the Zambia Air Force officers who visited. They were probably on some mission or something, and I just had a conversation with that gentleman. I took a picture with him. That dream was so strong. 8 years later, here I am. Social impact, political science. Now, if you go back in time and ask the 12-year-old me what happened, it is incomprehensible. And I think for the 12-year-old Mwiza, it feels like betrayal. Like, how did we get off the path and go into something so different? But it also teaches me something. It makes me realize that on an ongoing basis, we are becoming different people as human beings. So for me, got into social impact because I started learning that I love to see people improve. I love to see people better off. I love to see people face a challenge confidently that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do without someone intervening. And that's all it takes sometimes. You might be seated somewhere feeling so vulnerable, feeling so discouraged, and someone gives you a piece of information, gives you a piece of advice, or simply extends their hand and lifts you up on the reins of the ladder, and that just creates the whole difference. And I've seen this personally in my own life. I've also seen it in other people's lives through the work that I do. So I started identifying myself strongly with that. And I asked myself, as a political scientist, because that is the professional career I decided to take, how can I use this education to create meaningful change in society? And so through my education as a political scientist, I started realizing and learning that political science as a whole that just doesn't talk about systems, because systems exist because of human beings. Who would the systems be created for if not human beings? So the systems that we create in political analysis and governance and so on and forth represent one thing, humanity. And so I decided to go to the very bottom of the foundation of political science and decided whatever I can do to improve people's lives so that they can be better politicians, so that they can be better leaders in society is what I'm going to do. Because through the work that we do, and I'll tell you as a matter of fact, people gain confidence, people gain leadership skills, and they are launched to society to become the best versions of themselves. And all it takes is a little bit of social impact.
Most definitely. And what other projects are you working on that have to do with social impact?
So I know we are going to speak in details about the principal projects that I'm working on with Dana Holdings. But part of the other social impact initiatives that we are doing from my other walk of life is I think you read something in my profile about a sports foundation that we co-founded. We identify young people from all different walks of life in Zambia. We bring them to Lusaka and give them a ball and say, play the ball. Now, this initiatives comes from the fact that young people out there, I know you've probably traveled the country, but maybe you haven't seen some of the things I've seen, such as a 12-year-old girl who is a mom. You know, you find a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old carrying a baby on her back. And that is their baby, not that the baby is a sister or something. That baby as a baby, you know, and such things break you apart. So my partner and I looked into that issue and decided how are we going to help improve the lives of these young girls. So we came up with what is known as Z Pro Sports Foundation, and we are using sports as an umbrella to support young girls in Zambia between the ages of 12 and 25. We take them to school as a supplement. We also give them skills, tailoring, designing, and so on and forth. But at the core of our initiative is football. If they can play football, that is the talent that brings all of us together. Because football as an entertainment can also create livelihoods. But you can't play football for the rest of your life. Not everybody is Ronaldo. You know, he's stayed in his football for so long, but sometimes your legs will get weak, and what do you do? So we send them to school. We've sponsored girls in university as well as in secondary schools, just to give them a platform to learn and become better for themselves.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's quickly move on. And just before you talked, and by the way, great job. I think that's how it should be, supporting girls in those moments. You know, just to help them to provide, not only taking them to school, but also skills. Very important. Yeah. Now, your most prominent client is Dr. David Nama, that we all know through Dana Holdings. What are some social impact initiatives that you are working on, especially relating to youth empowerment? Because at the end of the day, people are listening to you and they say, this is our youth. So what programs have you worked on with Dana Group?
Yeah, thank you so much, Angel. Like you've said, in my social impact strategizing, Dana Holdings, and to be specific, Dr. David Nama is literally the principal client in my field of work. And we are doing a lot of different things. Part of what we are doing in youth empowerment is what is known as a School of Thinkers. So this is a flagship it is a flagship program to empower young people in entrepreneurship, to empower them in leadership, to empower them in skills, among other things. So this is not all. We have a 6 months program that is going to be rolled out in the next 6 months. And it is going to identify opportunities of social impact. We are going to look into how do we create sustainable environmental initiatives. How do we also provide soft skills? Because, you know, one of the challenges young people are facing today is what we call the paradox of change. I'll give you an example. Most young people in Zambia today have made a living out of content creation, right? Yeah. They've made a living. They've made money. Some of them are podcast hosts. But if I ask you, what did they think about going into that kind of career 10 years ago? Their future was not just unknowable. It wasn't just unknown, it was unknowable. There is no way 25 years ago somebody could have been able to tell that there would be a podcast host or a content creator on TikTok. Exactly. Because the world is changing so drastically. And so certain things that are coming in the future, the same way TikTok has come and we did not know it would, the same way Facebook came and we did not know it would. And if you have 1 million followers on Facebook, then that becomes a stream of income for you. So what we are doing at Dana Group is we are trying to identify and set people, young people to be precise, into a motive, into a field, into a mindset where they are able to predict opportunities and position themselves regardless of what they've done. If, say, for example, you went to school to be trained as a political scientist, you don't have to work at the United Nations and say, I'll never do anything until I get a job at the UN. You need to be able to look within and launch yourself into the world with different sets of skills that complement your personality, that complement your character, and obviously that align with the national goals in the country that you belong to. So partly those are some of the things that we are looking at. Another very interesting project that we are hoping to embark on is called Earth Fest. And, this is obviously from the consideration that my client considers that oil is, if you talk about stakeholders, you'd consider that even when you as Angel is doing a business in one sector, there are other stakeholders that are enabling you to do your business. Some of them the environment, as well as even principles that are in the forefront of producing the products that you're selling. So if you look at oil, for example, that is an extractive activity, okay? Drills into the earth and so on and forth. So from the perspective of Dana Oil, how do we supplement the work of British Petroleum, the work of Castro, and narrow it down to protect the earth? So we are going to embark on a project called Earth Fest, and there will be identifying opportunities to create sustainable development and sustainability in terms of addressing issues to do with climate change. We are going to also, and these are plans at the preliminary level, we are looking at creating plastic collection squares in schools so that those can be recycled, and after recycling them, we create sustainability. So other than that, vehicles use oil. No vehicle except electric cars, which are very rare in Zambia. And also we have a very long way to go in terms of moving to a place where we drive we drive green energy. So how do we then ensure that there is road safety? So we are also looking at how do we create initiatives to support school-going children. Parents are going to work, kids are going to school every single day. Very risky stuff. People are rushing to go to work, using the same roads as a child without good judgment. So how do we help parents to educate their children to be conscious when they're using roads, public transport, even when it comes to the people that run? Keeping fit is a necessity in the world today. So how do we ensure that you make yourself as self-conscious, as aware as possible, even as you do your activities to keep yourself fit? So in a nutshell, these are some of the projects that will be running after 6 months.
Wonderful. And in your explanations, I heard you talk about School of Thinkers. So let me throw in 3 questions there because of time. What exactly is a School of Thinkers? Why was it created, and what impact do you hope it will have in the long term?
So it is simply a platform for learning. It is... Dr. David Nama is very passionate about young people, and School of Thinkers is access to his experience. It is access to his network. It is access to his knowledge. So it empowers young people with the mindset, the skills, as well as the confidence that they need in order to tackle challenges of the 21st century. How do you innovate and thrive in a world that is ever evolving? So we are cultivating a culture of disruptive thinking and innovation among young people. So the program in itself seeks to transform participants into agents of change in their communities and in their lives as well. We want young people to think beyond survival and start thinking about how do they contribute to the nation as a whole. So why it was created? Because young people are not lacking intelligence. They are lacking direction. So we offer direction. I'm just going to give you some of the objectives of the School of Thinkers, and that pretty much answers how do we give direction to these young people that we interface with. So first and foremost, through mentorship programs, opportunities to connect with leaders, innovators, and thought leaders who can provide them with guidance and support. But also, other than that, we are going to be opening innovation labs where we'll have hands-on projects that will allow participants to develop and test solutions to real-world problems, including the electricity challenges that we are battling with as a country. So Another thing is collaborative learning. We'll be encouraging teamwork and idea exchange to build interpersonal and collaborative skills, because most of the people we'll be dealing with are students from universities in the country. So in terms of the monitoring and evaluation part, we'll be doing community outreach, and here we'll be applying learned skills through community-driven projects, as well as creating measurable impact. And now you see, when I say creating measurable impact, you can marry it with why what we are doing is actual social impact, because we need to measure and identify from where we started and where we are. What change have we been able to create, and can it be tested in these communities?
Most definitely. All right. Before we go to the last set of questions, where I'm asking you to, of course, give some practical advice to the youth, just to announce that the phone lines are now open. You can come through on the number 0956 200 490, 0956 200 490. I would love you to address two questions here that have been asked to you. Sly, I don't know if it's Sly or Slay. It should be Sly, right?
I think it's Sly.
Sly.
Sly like Sylvester Stallone.
Okay, there you go. It says, which country is doing the best when it comes to social impact? That's the first question. The second question is, what do you think are some of the deliberate policies that government has put in place to make sure that big corporations are held responsible in regards to land degradation? I think it's a very important question. So these are two questions coming through from Sly. Thank you so much, Sly. And also our phone lines are open. You can come through on the number 0956 200 490. Give us a phone call on that one, or you can send your text message to that particular number. So let me allow you to respond to these two questions from Sly.
Okay, so you asked me to give practical advice, but we can start with the questions first.
Yeah, I think let's start with these two questions,
Okay.
and then we'll get to the practical advice.
Sure thing.
So he's asking, which countries do you think is doing the best when it comes to social impact?
So let me start with the second question.
Okay.
Deliberate policies. So one of the things the government has done practically, which is, well, on paper, and that's what I'm saying practically, is the institutionalization of ZEMA. You know, ZEMA is a body that regulates how companies, big corporations, what they do and holds them responsible.
Yeah.
The same way that you have the IBA in the broadcasting sector.
Yeah.
So ZEMA, very important, and the Act exists to empower ZEMA to enforce themselves and ensure that all the activities being done, especially by mining corporations and manufacturing sector and so on and forth, can be as sustainable as possible. I'm not sure if you know, but even when you have a commercial farm, for example, and you want to draw water from a river body that is used by people in Zambia, ZEMA needs to conduct an impact assessment to see what kind of impact what you are doing is going to have on the generations to come, as well as the community around you. So ZEMA is a very important institution, but when it comes to the effectiveness of their work, I cannot comment on that.
That's a topic for another.
That's a topic for another day.
For another day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving to the second question, I think was about which country is doing
that we could cite
Yeah.
to say, look, social impact here is doing really well.
I think one of the flagship countries that I would point to any day, anytime is India. And you know, yes, India, quite unlikely, right? I think most people would expect something out of Europe, like Germany, Switzerland, and so on and forth. They're doing good, but not as good as India. And the reason India is standing out is because in India, it is an obligation for you to do corporate social responsibility. Now, remember, corporate social responsibility might be reputational, might be a marketing tool, might not be as effective as deliberate social impact, but it's a good start. Okay, if we can start from there, then we know we are headed in the right direction. Okay. So with India, what happens is there are companies that meet a certain threshold in terms of their annual turnover. So if you make a certain amount of money after taxes every year, you're obligated to give a certain percentage of that profit into corporate social responsibility. Okay. And the act itself, because it is an act, so it it tells them which sectors to go into. Sectors like poverty reduction, supporting climate change initiatives, reducing poverty, gender equality, and so on and forth. So mostly things around sustainable development goals. So India, very good example to cite, as well as Australia.
Even Australia. All right. Another question here. Please keep the questions coming before our guest leaves us. This one says, is Belon Yasham Fuller, says, I heard you mention about the impact that may be caused by the mining, especially on the environment, which could be a negative or positive impact. I have seen one mining company, which I may not mention for now, which has caused a negative impact on the environment, specifically the house's roof within the mining area, and indeed damages to human life. And yet these people, they do not get anything in return from the mining company as a way of compensation in this regard. Which steps can you take to help the affected community? To summarize this, I've also heard these conversations, and I would like you to respond to these conversations of, yes, mining may also do negative impact, but at the end of the day, it's all about the people. And sometimes we may forego what the mining companies are going to produce just to protect the livelihoods of the people. What is your opinion to that, married together with this particular question?
Well, I think it comes back to, remember you and I discussed the triple bottom at the beginning of our conversation.
Yes.
Mines are in it for the business. Let's take that into consideration. So that is why we need regulation. That is why we need government institutions and policies to be very strong, because the primary role of a company in business is to make profit. And that is why even on the triple bottom, we start with profit. Because let's be honest, they're always going to put themselves first. So then it is the role of the government and the role of the community and the people themselves to ensure that when it comes to the planet and when it comes to the people, we, the people, as well as the government, get to the mines and help them to enforce this, because primarily it is not what they want to do. So very unfortunate incidences that Fuller has referred to. And I think one of the things that can be done with regard to that is engage the mines. Because if we are being honest, you see that the mines themselves, at any scale, you look at First Quantum Minerals, you look at Mopani, you look at Konkola Copper Mines, they're doing their best to ensure that there's sustainability in their practices. You find sustainability reports on their websites. You also find deliberate means highlighted in their strategic plans in terms of how they seek to reduce the impact of their mining activities on communities. So we need to hold them to account. The same way that we hold leaders to account, we need to hold these institutions to account. One of the things that can be done is you write to them. Request that responsibility be taken over such issues, and if not, then you can move to the local government in that particular jurisdiction. If the local government is also unable to help you, then you can appeal to ZEMA. Like I said, that is the institution that the government has given the authority to act on issues relating to environmental degradation.
All right, let's get to our line on the number 0956-200-490. This one says, great conversation, very inspirational, but says, I'm unable to listen into the program because I'm now at work. Is this recorded? Yes, this is recorded. It's a live program. We're live, but you can go to Facebook after you're done with work. Go to Facebook, search for RCV News. You're going to find this great conversation there. Too bad for you that you couldn't finish the conversation. This one says, good morning to you, Angel, and good morning to you, my brother Mwiza Bwali, my former pupil at Mpika Boys Secondary School. I just want to thank you for the topic which you are discussing about how someone will change young people should live in society. Okay, thank you so much. No name for this one. You are at Mpika Boys?
Yes, I was.
Interesting. Interesting. Mpika Boys. I was at Mungwe Technical.
Oh, I was there for a while before I went to Mpika Boys.
Some rivalry, but not so bad.
Not so bad.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for that text message. Now let's get to you talking to the young people. What can young people start doing right now to improve themselves? Because sometimes the conversations that I hear from young people, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if what I would do is going to cause impact. And there's just that stagnation. Say I'm not going to do anything because I do not know what to do. So what can young people start, right now to improve themselves? Let's start from there.
I know this would almost sound like a blueprint to someone's destiny, but of course, I cannot give that. The least I can do is offer practical advice, things that have worked for me, things that we've been able to share with other young people that have worked for them, as well as things I've learned through privileges of being around people that have lived before us and have done remarkably well in their sectors. First thing, Angel, is I think we all need to recognize the fact that we need to do our best where we are. Okay? So if you're pushing a wheelbarrow, right? If that's what you're doing, don't be content with that, but do your best at that. And the reason I say this is because my greatest inspiration comes from the Bible. And one of my teachers taught something very, very profound. He said, if Joseph was not a good slave, right, he wouldn't have been governor. The only reason his dream manifested that his brothers bowed down before him was the fact that first he had to be a good slave to Potiphar, where he learned how to preserve the seed, which was the skill through which he was appointed to be governor by Pharaoh. After that, he had to be a good prisoner. When he was sent in prison by Potiphar, he had to ensure that he was available to interpret those two other prisoners' dreams, even though his own dream got him in jail.
Yeah.
If I were him, I would have probably said, you know what, my dream landed me in problems. Don't share your own.
Yeah.
Keep quiet.
Yeah.
But he asked them to share their dreams, interpreted their dreams. And after that, that gentleman before Pharaoh said, I know a guy. He's in prison. Maybe he might be useful to you because he was useful to me. But where was Joseph Yusuf? In prison. Yeah. And we need to recognize that whatever circumstances we are given at a particular point in time, they are supposed to be there. Yeah. They are supposed to be there. We don't have to despise anything in life. We need to be able to follow through the process because the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 11 says time and chance happens to everyone. Yeah. So it regardless of whether you are the fastest runner, you are the wisest in the room, time and chance will locate each and every person. But the key is to be relevant where you are. You do your best with what you've been given. You do your best with what opportunities you're having in the present. And when you interpret someone's dream, another person will come your way and interpret your dream. Because Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream and his own dream was interpreted after that. But something really important that I would like to share with our listeners as well as young people that might be able to listen to this interview is if you're going to recognize that you're going to become a different person in the future because of circumstances and everything else, then there are three things that you need to do. Number one, you need to stay curious. Okay? This means just don't spend your time with people that are your family and your friends. Spend time with people that are in other vocations, people that are in other careers. If you're a doctor, pay attention to what the lawyers are talking about. If you're a lawyer, pay attention to what the accountants are talking about because you don't know what tomorrow might bring. Yeah. Second thing is that we need to seek humility. Yeah. You need to be able to come to a place where even when you disagree with something, you should be able to add a sense of humility to your disagreements because it can never be me, can be you sometime. Yeah. I bet both of us have said certain things in our lives about what we can never do. No, I can never be in that situation. I can never do this, I can never do that. And eventually, you find yourself doing the same thing. So we need to be able to seek humility. And I say seeking humility because by default, men are full of pride. We need to be able to pursue humility. Last thing, we need to be brave. As a young person, you need to be very, very brave. The reason is simple. I've talked so much about how, sometimes you're going to grow and you change, you not know certain things, you forget about where you're coming from and the things you knew back then. But another thing is that is just part of the story. You're also going to become wiser. You're going to become better. And what that means is that even when you disagree with the things that you're unable to do and an opportunity presents itself, if Angel calls you on radio to come and speak about what you're passionate about, if you're unable to come on that day, tell him, I'm not able to come today, but I'll be glad to come another time. Just don't say, I can't come on radio, I can't speak on radio, I don't have confidence to speak, I don't have the ability to do this. Because you'll be wiser. Okay? And it's the same with even when we have vengeance, when we lock away the doors. It's not just that we are going to be different and we want to forgive people, but even the people that we are hating on are going to be different people in time to come. So we need to be considerate of the fact that we'll be brave. We need to be considerate of the fact that we'll be wiser and we're going to be smarter. And so the things we are unable to do as young people today, we'll be able to do them another day. And so we need to remain brave and seek opportunities and make ourselves relevant.
I know we were running out of time and we have to wrap up soon. Mark here through a text message says, good morning, enjoying the program. I've got a question for Mr. Mwiza. Does it mean that at personal level, if I do not create social impact, I am failing? This is Mark.
Absolutely not, Mark.
Okay, before you get to Mark, this other one says, good morning. I'm just asking for the number of the guest speaker because I really need to talk to him. This is coming through from Brenda. Thank you so much, Brenda. I'm sure he's going to share his contact at the end of the program. So, Mark is asking in his personal capacity if he feels he's not providing or not, spilling over this social impact. Is he failing?
No. You're not failing, Mark. You only fail if you can't impact even yourself. Because, the very fact that you wake up every day and stay on the grind is social impact in its own. You're inspiring someone that might not even be able to know it. But we need to just do more. Okay, we can impact ourselves socially, we can impact our immediate families socially, but we need to do more. And if you're unable to do it at a large scale, if you're unable to provide skills, if you're unable to provide training, one of the things you can do is just be kind. Be a good person to the rest of the world. You don't have to make others feel less of what they are. You have to be there for other people that are in need of your compassion, people that are in need of your empathy. We are going through very dramatic times as a country, as a world. And so all of that, acts of kindness, that is social impact. So at an individual level, we can all do that. We can share words of encouragement. We can be kind to our friends and our families. Impact. All of it is social impact because your kindness today will launch me into having confidence to think I can be a better person and I can be acceptable in society. Especially, and I know, Angel, you said we're running out of time, but I really need to stress this point. You look at people that are disabled. You look at people that are stigmatized because they're living with HIV and AIDS. How do you treat them as an individual? How do you look at them? How do you talk to them? All of that creates social impact, negative or positive. So you identify your spirit and make sure that you're good to others.
Most definitely. I would love to take you away a little bit and just a word of encouragement to the young people, especially young people that continue to be used as tools of political violence, seeing that 2026 is just around the corner and we're getting to a moment where we're politically charged as a nation. And, the life of the youths are a little bit worrying because then we continue to see that they continue to be allowed to be used as tools of political violence by the old folks, the same old folks that say that the future of the country is not in safe hands with the young people. They instruct the young people to do certain things. So I would like you to give us a word of advice or a word of advice to the young people not to be used as tools of political violence. And just to remind them that, look, there's much more than being used as a tool of political violence. The social impact that you have to create. There's a lot more that you can get. Skills, you can acquire skills and be a better person. So I would like you to address or speak to the young people.
Well, thank you, Angel. That is a really thoughtful thing. if you are young, that is not the end of your life. You know, through, and this is true at any level in life, every action has a consequence. If you pick stones today, throw stones on another person, chances are you get arrested and you throw away the rest of your life. But funny thing about that is you don't know what might have happened in between the time you're in jail if you didn't have to go there. So sometimes our destinies, our platforms for success in life are hindered just like that. So anybody that asks you to throw a stone at another person, anybody that asks you to engage in political violence is literally, honestly, just evil. And I can't be apologetic about it. They are being used by the devil to hinder you from becoming the person you are meant to be. And so, from my perspective, somebody might disagree with me, but if you are a young person being used to commit violence, then you're a very, very, very valuable person. Because otherwise, it wouldn't come to you. So, turn yourself around. That value that they are seeing in you, turn it around. Create value for yourself. Look for opportunities to go in skills. You know, the Constituency Development Fund is available for everyone. There are TVET institutions around the country, lots and lots of them. And many young people are getting skills. Go and learn metal fabrication. Go and learn how to drive. Make a better living for yourself. And from small steps like that, you have no idea what you could become, because the sky is the limit. But in the moment you're picking stones and throwing and fighting and so on and forth, the outcome is clear. It's certain. You go to jail. But if you are driving today, you might not be able to know who you are going to drive the following day. They might be your destiny helper. So let's just be honest with ourselves and let's say no to all forms of political violence, especially as we get into an election year. The country is charged. I think it is clear for everyone to see. But we have the willpower. We have the ability to create for ourselves a society that we want to live in.
Do you know anyone by the name of Grandma 66 years? No? He sends a message and says he wants to talk to you after a radio program. Grandma 66 years. Interesting. All right, Mwiza, even as we come to the end of the program, what would be your concluding remarks? And if you may mind, I've seen quite a number of people are asking for your contact details. If you may be kind enough just to share so that other people can have separate conversations with you.
Sure, that's absolutely fine, Angel. I use the name Mwiza Bwali on Facebook. My name means you have come, but the Bwali part is just that. It's just in Shima, but in English. Yeah. So I don't know what I should start with, my number or concluding remarks.
You can concluding remarks and we get to your number.
Okay. So my number is 0975 08 8526. 0975 088526. My email address is bwalimwiza@gmail.com. So anybody that wants to get in touch for personal as well as corporate reasons, we can create social impact together. If you think you live in a community where there are pressing issues and challenges, please let us speak. I think there are a lot of people out there willing to do good things and to uplift the lives of other people in sustainable and meaningful ways, and we can do a lot together when we come together. That is why God had to change the language that the people building the Tower of Babylon were speaking, because there is no limit to what human beings can do in unison.
Yeah, that's true. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for coming through to today's edition of Community Forum. We appreciate your time. We know you're a very busy man, and for you to come on a Saturday just to have a conversation with our guest, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you for having me.
All right. This is where we come to the end of today's edition of Community Forum. Thank you so much, everybody that tried to call in. I saw missed calls, text messages. Thank you so much. Our Facebook viewers, you're awesome. Thank you so much. But this is where we come to the end of the program. Next week, join Margaret Mwanza, even as she hosts Community Forum from 08 to at about this time, 9:50. So make sure you do make a date. Up next, we do have Island Praise with Stacey Rose. That's at about 10. And then Jane Duntamwemba, the Bola Queen, takes over the airwaves with today's edition of Backpage. Thank you so much. Have a great and restful weekend. And remember to share Jesus boldly. Good morning.